The first time I saw Kofi with a tear-streaked face, barefoot and dusty, carrying a heavy load of firewood on his shoulders, I almost didn't believe my eyes. This was the same Kofi who used to stroll through the village in fine clothes, laughing with his head held high, his hands always soft and empty, never a burden to carry. But now, his face was lowered, his clothes frayed and stained. And those of us who had once envied him could only look at him with quiet shock. Kofi's family had been the wealthiest in the village. His father was the most successful cocoa trader in the region, owning several large farms and trading routes that made him known far and wide. Every season, Kofi's family would throw grand celebrations, inviting everyone to feast. They would bring in fresh fruits, sweet cakes, and rich, spiced stews, more food than anyone could finish in a week. People came from nearby villages to trade in Kofi's father's yard, where gold coins would clink and flow with ease, almost as if they had endless streams of wealth. But the one thing Kofi didn't have was friends, not the kind that lasted past the excitement of those grand feasts. His wealth made him proud, and with that pride came an air of arrogance. He would laugh at our old, worn clothes and call our patched-up shoes beggars' feet. While we carried water from the well in worn-out buckets, he would have servants bring him cool drinks. While we toiled in the fields, he would rest under shady trees, watching us and laughing, calling us children of the dirt. I was one of those kids he liked to laugh at. My family was simple, we worked hard, saving each coin, and knew the value of a full day's work. My father was a fisherman, my mother a weaver. We didn't have much, but what we had, we cherished. One year, there was talk of a big business deal that Kofi's father was planning, a deal that would supposedly make their family even wealthier. But as quickly as the whispers spread, trouble came like a storm. There were rumors of a failed shipment, a betrayal by a business partner, and debts that stretched farther than anyone could pay. Kofi's father lost everything. Their grand house was sold off, their jewelry and cattle gone within days. They moved from the large house on the hill to a small, single-room hut at the village's edge, a place usually reserved for the poorest among us. And that was how I came to see Kofi walking through the village like any one of us, carrying firewood on his back, his head lowered, his fine clothes replaced by simple, worn fabric. At first, it felt almost satisfying to see him humbled. I remembered all the times he had laughed at me for my worn sandals, calling me rag feet. Now, he walked barefoot, feeling the sharp stones and hot earth just as I had. The village watched him with a mix of surprise and pity. Some felt bad for him, but others felt it was a lesson, a balancing of life scales. But for me, I didn't know what to feel. When I passed him one morning, I simply nodded in his direction, not sure if he would even respond. To my surprise, he nodded back, his eyes meeting mine with a softness I had never seen before. Over the next few weeks, Kofi learned what it meant to be one of us. He carried water from the well, tilled the fields, and learned the weight of hard work. I saw him struggle at first, his hands blistered, his face creased with frustration. There were days when he would collapse on the ground, too tired to continue, and his mother would gently pick him up, brushing dirt from his face, whispering words of comfort. One day, as I was carrying a basket of yams from the field, I saw him sitting by the roadside, looking at his hands. They were red and rough, the skin cracked and blistered. He caught my gaze, and instead of looking away, he sighed and offered a small, tired smile. "Do your hands ever stop hurting?" he asked quietly, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. I chuckled and shook my head. "Not really. You get used to it after a while. It becomes part of you." He nodded, tracing a line across his palm, lost in thought. "I used to think I was different. Better, maybe." His voice softened, almost a whisper. "But I think I just didn't understand." For the first time, I felt a strange warmth for Kofi. The boy who once looked down on me was now sitting beside me, sharing the same hardships, feeling the same pains. There was no bitterness in his voice, only a quiet acceptance of his new reality. From that day on, we became unlikely friends. We walked to the well together, our buckets heavy, our steps slow but steady. We worked side by side in the fields, harvesting yams, digging in the earth, our hands growing rougher each day.